This quick-hitting storm could bring some surprises to you as it makes its way east into this weekend, bringing the potential for some heavy rain and storms from the central plains to the east coast before it's all said and done. In this video, I've got all the details you need to know about this near-term storm, plus a look at when things could change further down the line in the temperature and precipitation pattern. Thank you for taking time out of your day to tune into this video. I don't want to waste any time. Let's get right into the future radar overview for this weekend storm using the European model. And as you can see here, as we go out of our Friday evening when I'm filming this video into our Saturday, November 9th of 2024 into the early morning hours, we are expected to see a low pressure system that has been bringing blizzard conditions the last few days to parts of New Mexico and Colorado, beginning to wrap up its snow in some of those areas as well as southern Wyoming. Meanwhile, most of the focus with this system will shift over to the rainfall. You can see, while we're not expecting many severe storms, if at all, out of the remainder of the system, we are looking at a pretty good chance for some rain and some general thunderstorms anywhere from Nebraska and eastern Kansas, western Missouri, back down through parts of Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. This is into, again, our Saturday, say 6, 7, 8 in the morning. As we go towards 6, 7, 8 into the evening on Saturday, this low begins its quick trek east. That's really going to be the main story out of this low. It is going to be moving at a pretty quick rate. By this point in time, parts of the upper Midwest and northern plains at least seeing some light rainfall, better chance for more moderate to heavy rainfall, and some associated thunderstorms will be back down the mid and lower Mississippi River. Speaking of those regions, we'll start to see the rain push out of those zones, although it will still remain in places like Louisiana and Mississippi, and then we'll see places like the Ohio River Valley really fill in as this fast storm continues to move east into our Sunday. This is as we go 8, 9, 10, 11 in the morning on our Sunday. If you're planning to go to church, if you have any other activities going on throughout the day in the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, any surrounding spots, even up towards the Great Lakes, be prepared, have an umbrella on hand, although you might not want to hold that up in case there's the chance of a few thunderstorms getting in the mix as well. Now jumping ahead into our Sunday evening, the Ohio Valley starts to clear out a bit. We're now definitely clearing out in a lot of the lower Mississippi Valley even, but the southeast U.S., the mid-Atlantic, starting to fill in with some quick hitting showers and storms. A lot of this will occur Sunday night while you're sleeping, and then during the day on Monday, we're already clearing out in the mid-Atlantic. Most of the East Coast, honestly, clearing out despite some spotty showers still possible Monday, and then we'll just look ahead to the next storm from there. And of course, I've got all the details on that throughout the rest of this video, but before we get back into it, here's just that quick reminder that the awesome weather model maps that I use throughout my videos are from Weatherbell, and there's a free trial link to them below in the description if you want to check them out. Also, if you're new to this channel and you want more consistent, accurate, and educational updates in the future, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button right here on YouTube. But getting back into the discussion of this near-term storm, let's take a look at the total rainfall expected out of this. You can see that we've got two main pockets where we're going to have the heaviest rain come out of this storm. Nothing really looks like it's going to bring the chance of widespread flooding, but we could at least see some isolated flooding chances with the rainfall that's still to come here through parts of Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, eastern Texas, as well as into Arkansas and Louisiana. Most spots in those blues and yellows, around a half an inch to an inch and a half of additional rainfall on top of what's already fallen here. But down there in Louisiana, we have a better chance of picking up more like 3 to 4 to 5, maybe even 6 inches of rain in a fairly quick period of time this weekend. Don't be surprised if we get more scattered flooding there. Then we shift over here into this other area to watch. This is in Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, spots where we desperately need the rain, even more than some of the plain spots need it because we've at least seen more storms out there to the west. You can see a half an inch, an inch and a half of rainfall anticipated here as we go through the next few days, and that is certainly going to be good for drought relief. Most other spots in the mid-Atlantic and northeast not doing much towards the drought, though, with only a quarter or half an inch in those greenish shades. All right, with that being said, I want to go ahead now and talk about some of the temperature trends we're going to see as the storm pushes through, as well as just with the general weather pattern for the next 5 to 7 days or so. Using the European model to do so, you can see as we go into some parts of the northern plains, upper Midwest, all the way back down the Mississippi Valley and towards the mid-south, we are going to have temperatures with the southerly wind flow ahead of our weak system 5, 10, 15 degrees above average, and that is going to really last not only for our Saturday ahead of the system, but even as we go behind it in these same areas into our Sunday afternoon and evening, because the cold front this system will have with it is not going to be acting like much of a cold front, except for the fact that it'll push the biggest anomalies eastward. You can see that there will be a little bit of an influence for it, though, in some spots, and that's particularly going to be in the Ohio Valley and northeast as we go towards, say, Monday going into our Tuesday. Once we get this storm to move offshore, there will be a decent northwest to southeast wind flow behind it, and these areas, really anywhere from Indiana and Kentucky eastward, and then from Virginia northward, we're going to have a chance for some 5 degree below average temperatures. This is really the coolest it has been in this region of the country in a little while, though, because most temperatures have just been 5, 10, 15, 20 degrees above normal, and that has been a recurring trend. It's almost like that recurring trend is going to continue being the trend as we go to the middle of next week, because guess what it is? You can see all the way up the Mississippi Valley towards the Great Lakes, upper Midwest, any points in between, and even just a little bit west and east, we're going to be seeing 5, 10, 15 degree above normal conditions as we go towards this point. This is Wednesday, November 13th, around 7 p.m. This warmer than average blip of air could certainly help in fueling up our next storm system. You can see that little patch being forced east, but then look at what that model was showing it further down the line. More warm air moving up into the center of the country. And at the end of this video, I'll also talk about when we could see some cooler air filter into the picture, so stick around for that. But here we go. Before we talk about that next storm in the middle of this upcoming week, I do want to talk about what we have going on with the next few days in terms of the actual temperatures, not just the anomalies, but what they're going to look like with numbers. You can see as we go into our Saturday, November 9th, this is what 5, 10, 15 degree above average conditions look like for a lot of the central U.S. We've got plenty of mid-70s, even some 80s filtering into some parts of the mid-south, including Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Meanwhile, up there towards Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, we've got some 60s, and those are definitely at least, say, 5 to 10 degrees above seasonable averages. Temperatures will actually rise into Sunday, even if we are behind the system. Up here, you can see back towards South Dakota and Nebraska, we've got low to mid-60s pushing into the western parts of those states. We should probably be more like the 40s and 50s this time of the year. Same goes over here into places like Iowa and Illinois, but we're in the 50s and 60s. We've also got mid and upper 60s towards Indiana and Ohio, but at least in those areas, we are kind of still ahead of this storm, so to speak, as we're going to have the southerly wind flow kind of pushing up into the front. By the way, the further you go back down towards the Gulf Coast Sunday, just like on Saturday, we've got more 70s and 80s in the mix, and that will include South Central Texas, where we could even be near record highs, as we'll be in the upper 80s there. Monday looks very similar to Sunday, so I'm not going to circle anything here. You can see we're a little bit cooler up and towards parts of the upper Midwest, towards the Great Lakes, where we're around 45 to 50 for highs anywhere from the Dakotas to Michigan. And in fact, as we go into our Tuesday, you can see that contrast between the area of warmer temperatures and the area of cooler temperatures building up just a little bit more. Tuesday is that day when we're going to have the slightly below average conditions in the Northeast behind our weak front. Banking up against that, though, the warmer than average conditions from the south. So while we're, say, 50 degrees in a place like Detroit, Michigan for a high on Tuesday, which is honestly just more normal for this time of the year, we're going to be 70 in Nashville, Tennessee, 70 in Little Rock, Arkansas, 70 in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then back down towards the Gulf Coast, a place like New Orleans, more like 80. Wednesday afternoon, yet another day that looks very similar to the last several, with a blip of plenty of 50s and 60s trying to push up towards the Midwest. The more of these 50s and 60s we can see push north, the more that we will see in contrast between our temperatures in the west and the east, and the better chance we'll have of seeing a stronger storm system mid-next week. Speaking of that potential, let's go ahead and take a look at that mid-level pattern using the European model as we go through the next several days. Jumping right ahead towards our Wednesday, November 13th of 2024, so about 5 days out from when I'm filming this, into the middle of the upcoming week. This is the storm I honestly hyped up a little bit too much as being a big signal a couple of days ago in my most recent video. The storm is still very likely to form. The signal is still there, but overall it is not necessarily a big signal. You can see a very light area of blues, a very weak trough in the jet stream being projected by the most recent model run at this time, moving into the upper Midwest and kind of clashing with a ridge to the east. This is as we go towards, again, the midweek time frame of next week. Overall, at this time, while it looks like this storm could go back up and uptrend on the models, it just looks like a general chance of showers and storms into the upper Midwest and northern plains Wednesday. And then this low-pressure system trough in the jet stream, whatever you want to call it, it shifts east by the time we go to our early Thursday towards the Great Lakes region, the Ohio Valley, where we could briefly see a shot of some rain. No snow expected out of this storm, as warm as it has been and as warm as it is expected to continue to be in the country. No big snow shots coming anytime soon, it doesn't look like. Let's go ahead and time out that storm using the same model and the most recent run from it. Again, just what I was showing you with the mid-level pattern, here's what it looks like at the surface in terms of forecast precipitation. Don't focus specifically on the timing, but you can see overall, some point Wednesday we'll probably have a decent chance of showers and storms up here. That's pretty certain. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, down into northern Missouri, we're going to have a pretty decent shot of at least some showers and storms that are probably going to be sub-severe as we go to the middle point of next week. Points west of there, not necessarily having a big chance of rain, say Tuesday night going into Wednesday, though, because this storm will just begin to really drop that precipitation probably into the Wednesday afternoon time frame. Here we go into our Thursday early morning, out of our Wednesday night, and by this point, the storm is still weak as it makes its way towards the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley. I do want to show you that the storm could still uptrend, though, because just a few runs before this one, the European was still going bullish overall on this longer range signal, and this is what I was really honing in on a little bit too much, honestly, and hyping up a little bit too much in my last video. The potential for this to have some severe weather in the nation's midsection. Places like Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas could certainly see some Wednesday severe weather at the minimum. Gusty winds in a lot of other areas with this kind of scenario, but again, this is really looking like a very high-end scenario and more unlikely scenario the closer we get to this storm now. Nonetheless, as we would go out of Wednesday into Thursday with this kind of setup, we would see strong winds pushing in and pushing a cold front towards the east. I mean, we literally see a storm go from the Ozarks to the Appalachians in the matter of, say, 12 to 24 hours, with as quickly as the storm would be moving. So certainly gusty winds, certainly heavier rain, and storms out of it if it were to go like this scenario. So I wouldn't rule out the storm re-uptrending to go and look like this. But again, that is not the most likely scenario at this point. It's just something to watch, and I'll keep you posted in the upcoming videos. One other thing that I promised I'd talk about in this video a little bit earlier on was the longer range potential for a cooldown. I know it seems weird that I'm looking at a random GFS model run that came out just before I filmed this video to show you what could happen in 8 to 10 days, because this model is usually the one that likes to show more cooldowns. But believe it or not, the European model actually shows a very similar setup by the time we go towards some point next weekend, so 7 to 10 days out. That setup is warm air in the eastern half of the country, cool air finally pushing out of the west and then making a run in that direction. Again, look at the date on the top left side of your screen. This is in no man's land. We are 10 to 14 days out. But overall, the trends I've been seeing on the models that I want to point out to you are that we're going to have a lot of cool air trying to exit the west as we go through the next week to 2+ weeks. It might be unsuccessful, but regardless, we are probably going to see a general uptick in storms, and they might get stronger as we go along, pushing from the central U.S. to the eastern U.S., and that could mean that, of course, we'll see some stronger severe weather chances eventually as well. And, of course, I am here for you with my ONW severe scale in case severe weather chances do form. This is my level 127 severe weather scale, just a sample graphic of what it could look like if a severe weather outbreak were to occur in the central plains. I just want to point out to those of you who are new to the channel, I love making these custom severe weather scale graphics, and if you stick around with me right here on the channel, I make these graphics myself, using not only official guidance, but also the latest model guidance so you stay in the know on severe weather. That is my specialty right here on the channel, and I hope that you will subscribe for more details on that. As we go towards winter, I'll keep you updated on all the snow and everything else weather-wise, so make sure you're subscribing down below for consistent, accurate educational updates. That is it for this one, though. I'll catch you in the next update Sunday afternoon.